Welcome back to the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, a light to fire outdoors production. On this episode, John is back again and A-Aron tells a turkey tale of poisoned hens, crippled rainy day birds, and how sometimes luck is all you need to fill your tag. Finally, the guys cap it off with a couple of salty turkey recipes you won't want to miss. Well, or maybe just not make the same mistakes they did. With that, let's jump in with A-Aron and John.
Technical difficulties.
Hey, we're getting it figured out, though. I think Zoom's still better than the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Remember, we used to always have those like cutouts when we first started. I just randomly cut out for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
That was annoying. So you're cleaning the house today, bud?
Definitely sweeping all the dust underneath the stove and refrigerator in the kitchen and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Stuffing your clothes under your bed.
Yeah, still a kid at heart, bud.
Yep. Oh yeah. You have to be.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. My wife, she's the same way. Like with John and I were talking about how we kind of like college kids at heart, I guess, most of the time, just two working adults that have full-time schedules plus some, and cleaning the house, the last thing you want to do. But no, she used to go back and forth with me about getting a maid or whatever, or a housekeeper to come in and like tidy stuff up for, like you said, your wife's got friends coming over or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So anytime my wife has family coming into town, dude, it's like, man, you want to watch her turn into a military commander, watch her come home and the house is dirty and the family's an hour out. Oh, dude, it's scary. But she used to hammer me on that, and I was always so against it. I'm like, no, absolutely not, because it looks bad on me, or I don't know. I had some like internal conflict with it. I'm like, no, to me, it made me feel lazy just to think about that, like I should be able to keep my house up. But then she, one day she did it. She hired somebody without me knowing. Mm-hmm. And it was like a Friday. I was downstairs eating my lunch, watching the Meat Eater TV show, and all of a sudden I see this lady like park right out in front of our house and walk up with a bag of stuff in her arms. I thought she had like a food delivery or something to the wrong house. So she rings the doorbell and I just sit there because I'm like, no, she'll go away like this. I didn't order food. And she rings the doorbell again, and then she knocks, and I'm like, I think this lady really wants to be here. And then finally she like walks away, and you see her step back and she looks at the house number, and she comes back and rings the doorbell again. Then I just sit there watching her. And at this point I'm like, my heart starts, racing a little bit, because you're like, what does this person want? So anyway, she finally gets in her car and drives off. And so I called my wife later that night, got home, and I said, hey, some lady really wanted to get her day, but she didn't drop anything off. She goes, what vehicle was she driving? And I told her, and she goes, oh my gosh. She said, I'm so sorry. She said, I totally forgot I hired that housekeeper. But she said, either way, it was for tomorrow, not that day. She said she showed up a day early, so she texted her anyway. So anyway, long story short, it's funny you mentioned that now, because that lady's literally downstairs tidying up because we got friends coming over tonight.
Well, put her on a plane and ship her this way ASAP.
Yeah. Dude, you know what the funny thing is? Like, I fought it so hard, but it's just one of those things that it's crazy because I think it's like 25 or 35 bucks or something once in a blue moon when you got people coming over and you don't have to worry about it. So I can keep working. I'm not running around the house for 4 hours that day trying to pick stuff up or whatever. My wife's not stressed at work thinking I'm not doing anything at home, the whole nine. So it's actually worth it.
For sure.
For such an occasion.
Right. Well, I'm really excited to hear about your turkey hunt. I know you got one. That's about it.
Yeah.
I know you went with Clay, and same place you went last year. And I know you got a lot of shots fired off last year. And again, I don't know how your hunt went, but I don't feel like you shot that many this year, especially given the fact that the ammo is expensive and hard to come by.
Yeah. No, actually, so I did, man. It was good. Next installment of Turkey Takers.
Here we go.
Yeah, man. I wasn't even sure I was going to get a turkey hunt in this year, like you and I talked about in the last podcast, but decided, you know what, I got a 3-day weekend. And actually what made me do it was it came in and snowed like on a Tuesday again up here, last week, Tuesday, or I think it snowed. And of course I'm watching the mountains. They're starting to look beautiful. Like, okay, bears are probably out running around and fricking just blanketed them white again. And I'm like, gosh, dang it, man. So I text Clay. I said, hey, dude, is that invite still open? He said, yeah, man, come on out. And I said, sweet. I'm gonna take a day and just go. So yeah, we went out there. Actually, we ended up going out, left Thursday night, got out to his place at about 11. I was just, diving in podcasts the whole way out, actually just as dusk was like there, like basically the sun was down below the horizon line. Things were just getting dark. I rise up over, and if you've never been to Eastern Montana, everybody thinks, most people might assume like mountains are just all over Montana. Well, once you get past like really Great Falls and then Lewistown, like mountains are gone. It's like Badlands country, basically just wide open prairies, red dirt, gumbo bluffs, stuff like that. So there's just nothing out there for turkeys. And I come up over this little rise and I saw just enough light to see, and I just catch these like 4 or 5 cottonwood trees sitting down on this bottom. And I was like, man, in my head, I was like, if I was a turkey, that's exactly where I would be tonight. And as I'm driving by them, I look up against the skyline where they kind of broke the hill that they were, sitting in front of anyway, from my view. And sure enough, I see a big black thing sitting up in this tree. And I'm like, no way, like nothing for miles around here, man. Like these are the only trees for miles. So I was like, there's no way there's a turkey up there. Well, there's a lot of porcupines out there too, though. So like in porcupines, if you've never been around those, they love climbing and eating bark off basically any tree you can find. So when you go out to Clay's, you can make a living, shooting and killing porcupines for the hair off them for guys that tie flies or whatever, if you want, because there's so many. So I thought it was a porcupine. So anyway, I pull over, I shut the truck off, and I roll down the window. I just listen. Don't hear anything. A couple of robins chirping, whatever. So I'm like, what are the odds? I just, with my mouth, I'm like, meh, 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 meh. Sure enough, dude, that thing fired off. I was like, oh. And it's like 100 yards. I get out Onyx. It's 100 yards from BLM on one side of this property and like 200 yards from state ground on the other. And I'm like, dude, I feel like I should just park the truck right here tonight, sleep. Get up in the morning and just like try to figure out a way to get into the state or the BLM ground and see if I could call them over, because why leave a bird that is there? But it wasn't on public, and it's some big giant ranch company that owned the property. So the odds of getting in touch with them are pretty low. It wasn't like a name, or whatever that it gives you. So anyway, I was like, no, I better head out to Clay's because I like another 2 hours to go. But that was a good start. I was like, okay, I got my blood's pumped up now. I'm glad I made the decision to go turkey hunting. And anyway, so I get out there about 11. And I pull into town because like I said, I was listening to podcasts the whole time, wasn't really paying attention. And I was like, oh, wow, all the way out here, I probably should have texted Clay my ETA, Yeah. And I realized I didn't. So I text him as I'm pulling through town, and he lives in a town of like 5 people. So you're going to be there basically when you're texting him, and he doesn't answer. So I get out of his house. I run around to the back cottonwood tree, take a leak, and then I come back out and start grabbing my gear out of the truck that I wanted to bring in. And I look at my phone as I'm walking up on his front step, and there's nothing. And his dog, he has a dog, and she wasn't barking or anything. So I was like, oh, maybe he's not here. So I knock, nothing, no dog barking or anything. So I tried the door happened to be open. I was like, oh, okay, sweet. And his dog was right there to greet me. So she was home, and get in there, take my boots off. I go around the corner, and he's there passed out. It's recliner. It was like 11 o'clock, mouth hanging open, drooling all over the recliner. And I was like, oh, cool, man. I guess we're going to call this an early night. So I walked up to his spare bedroom, unpacked my stuff, came back down to throw the 12-pack of Michelob seltzers in the fridge to keep them cold and crack a couple. And about that, he heard me crack my Michelob, and that's what woke him up. So we ended up sitting there to I don't know, probably 1:30, 2 a.m. just talking about whatever, catching up. And that's the cool part, like, because most of the hunting I do is by myself out here, so I don't like hunt with a lot of people unless it's like my wife or I like deer hunting and elk hunting and stuff. Yeah. Sometimes now I've got a few hunting buddies I go with, from up here, but they're one of them, my main one, he's getting deployed actually here this summer, so it'll be a season of sole proprietorship, I guess, out there this year, but except for getting the wife out. But anyway, that's always fun, like getting the hunting camp experience. And as soon as we started hitting it off like that, I was like, this is why I'm glad I came out here. This is a good time. Yeah. So anyway, got up. He told me the wind was supposed to be terrible out there on Friday morning. So I told him, well, I got a few things I need to wrap up, a few dealer calls I got to make anyway. He said, okay, we'll head out of here like, 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, that's fine. So I got up the next morning, wrapped my work up that I needed to get done, and then headed out, and we drove right to the place where I got my double last year. And that property actually is switched now. So last year it was private. We got landowner permission because he knew the guy. We like walked up and door knocked, and the guy was kind enough to send us out there. This year it's actually in block management now. So it was basically, I think we've covered it before, but block management is like private ground that landowners grant hunters access to basically publicly, but there's different rules of how you get access and that kind of thing. Well, his is just a basic sign-in box. And there was a handful of, so in the sign-in box, there's like a booklet of tags that you got to sign in, write your information down, pull one tag off to keep with you in case you harvest something, and then throw the other one in the box. And anyway, there was a handful taken. So I was like, oh, they're having people out here hunting. And I don't know if it was that or if it was the fact that the wind was blowing like 30 miles an hour all day Friday, but we saw a handful of birds. But man, nothing was just, I don't think anything was talking anyway. It was just too windy. But even if they were, like, we wouldn't have known.
Right. So, it's always a bummer turkey hunting when it's windy out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they could be 100 yards from me or less and you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we saw a couple birds. I don't think we got any stocks in that day at that property, but that's right where we went because our hopes were pretty high because of what happened last year.
Right.
And so anyway, then we head out to his family's ranch and go check that property. And actually, while we're cruising down the main road right by their house on the other side of the road, well, coming up to it, we got into a bunch of birds. There was some on a guy, I guess, that lives in Washington somewhere that we can't hunt on. There was a group of toms on one side of the road, a group of jakes with a couple of hens on the other side of the road walking into some timber. So the birds were out, and they're like, okay, we're in good shape now. So we get up to his place, and we drive up to the top of this big bluff that we saw some birds on and put a couple of stocks on last year. And the only bird we saw in the whole bottom, like up there on top of that bluff, I mean, the wind it had to be cruising 40 mile an hour up there. I mean, it was about blowing us off the edge. And we saw one hen. I'm guessing she was nested up or something because she was out kind of pecking around, but just not responding to anything. And so drive down the road a little further, and Clay's like, oh, stop the truck. And I'm like, what? He goes, dude, he's like, there's like 4 jakes piled right up against one of these brush patches. And so basically the way this terrain lays out is you've got these big rolling grass hills, and then on them are these like pockets that are, I don't know, probably 10 yards wide by 20 or 30 yards long, depending on the patch of this, like he calls it buckbrush, but it's like these low, basically like a plum thicket. And they're just like sporadically spread across these fields. Well, the birds were tucked right up into it. And so we ended up going down, parking the truck, sneaking around to this other patch just like that and sitting in it and calling from it, which FYI, if you're out here, well, anywhere in Montana, there's cactuses all over the place, which is something you don't really think about, but it is high desert. And so I actually stuck I leaned my back up into that buckbrush and happened to lean into a multiflora rose and some of these like little sharp thorn things that were in there. So I instinctively scooted forward where there's a friggin' cactus right between my legs I didn't know about.
Oh no.
Dude, it got me right between the brown eye and the other hard part that you don't want to poke. So I was actually thankful it hit me where it did, but definitely shocked me for sure. And then we started.
Did you gobble?
I damn near gobbled, man. It got me good. So anyway, I scooted over. But anyway, so we sat there and then we started calling a little bit, not gobbling, and nothing. I mean, these birds were like 30, they had to be 30 yards from us, and they weren't even gobbling at us. I'm like, no way. So I thought in my head, I was like, well, I should sneak up around like over this little tiny rise and just belly crawl it, because I'm sure I'll be able to see them from up there if they're there. And I think if I would have done that, I probably would have got one of those birds or a couple of them, but I didn't, because from where Clay was, he couldn't have seen me doing that. And I didn't want the birds to come out somewhere else on that, that I wasn't ready for, and him have to not know I was there and, be in his line of shot or something. So I was like, I better not do that. But anyway, the next thing you know, I look over and Clay's standing on top of that hill. So he snuck around the backside of me and he's up there and he's waving me up. And I'm like, what? And he's like, come here. So we get up there, and I guess the birds, I think I would have got a bird if they were there, because they had already like basically walked off. They were in the middle of the road looking back towards us. But I think they're just being young jakes. They didn't really know what to think. And they end up just skirting across the road and that was the end of that. But at least we had a little bit of an experience with birds that day. And other than that, man, it was just so windy. We hunted our butts off all day, walked, into some different places, checking for birds, and just nothing. Cause out here, it's a lot less of, I mean, you can have a 3-mile section here in Montana, and it can have, several different draws, but it's not like, I feel like in Iowa or, Midwest where you grew up, like you can go to the same 100-acre patch of woods every year and kill a turkey. Like
Sure.
they're there, they live there, they're going to be in one of the fields around it, and they're going to roost up in that timber somewhere. And you just know where to go. Out here, it's still hard for me to kind of understand, is like these birds, again, they could be anywhere for miles around you. It could be the same group of birds. You have 30 birds that live here, and you might see them in this little timber patch today, then you won't see them there for a week, and they'll be in the next one over. And then, so it's just pretty nuts to think about. But we were talking to several different people we ran into, like ranch hands out feeding cows and stuff. And like, oh yeah, we saw them up on this ridge 2 days ago. And then, another one, they were down in this cow pasture, or, this year, normally I see 150 of them, but now I've only seen 1 or 2 here and there on my haystacks like I normally do. And, it just seemed like a weird year for them anyway, but the weather's been nuts out here. So it doesn't surprise me they'd still be a little bit more scattered up. But so anyway, yeah, we kind of called it quits about 7 o'clock or so, kind of ran around, and we probably put on 150 miles or so in the truck, just burning down everything we could find. And the next day, Clay was looking at the weather, or I think he said it was supposed to start raining at like 8 o'clock that night. And so he's like, man, it's supposed to be windy just like it has been, but snow and rain tomorrow. He's like, I don't know what you want to do or what your game plan is. He's like, but I'm telling you, the weather's going to suck for it. And I was like, dude. So in my head, I'm thinking, gosh damn, like I just picked the wrong weekend, like this is, windy one day, nothing, no luck. Saw some birds, so you got your hopes up, but they're basically unhuntable unless you spot them where you can stalk them, and it just didn't happen for us that day, except for that one time. And I'm thinking, well, now it's going to rain and everything else on top of that. That's not going to be good. So I said, well, let's, we'll get up early, because we, I don't have to do any work or whatever. Let's get up earlier and drive back out to that place where I got my birds last year, because they're basically in the 3 or 4 different areas. You should be able to see the skyline behind the trees, and if they're roosted in there, at least we'll be able to see them roosted, just as it gets light before they're on the ground. And if it's going to be raining, hopefully they'll stay up there longer anyway, and maybe we can kind of figure out a position we can get into, for when they do decide to fly down. We might be able to basically have them go into our laps. And it worked out good, because drove in just like we had hoped. There's a group of some jakes and some hens roosted right inside the first little timber patch, basically 100 yards from where I killed my birds last year. And there was a bigger male by himself. He had a small beard on him, but quite a bit bigger bird. And he was just up there by himself, but just still only a small handful of birds. So we got into the timber, ducked down in below him, probably 60, 70 yards from that one that we knew was a male, and did some calling. He never once gobbled. And the nice thing is down in this little dip, it's like basically a dried up creek bottom. So the actual level ground is probably 3 feet above your head when you're standing down in there. And then, so you get a little bit of a depression plus the tree cover. So you're out of the wind. It was really quiet in there. It's actually kind of peaceful. And then it started snowing, which was really kind of neat to be turkey hunting in the snow, but just the birds never talked. We tried everything we could throw at them to get them to talk. And so anyway, we ended up going on this little bit of a walkabout. Nothing. So we get back in the truck, and we're soaking wet, and Clay's cold. So we're getting his stuff all warmed up and stuff. And we're like, well, you know what, man, like, let's just, I guess we can buzz around and hope to catch some birds out in the open. A lot of times they'll be in the open when it's raining anyway, or at least somewhere to, kind of, I think they can hear better that way or something. So anyway, we just started heading down the road, and I look off into this big open field. There's nothing out in the open field, but right on the edge, I just caught a little bit of black kind of buried in some grass about, I don't know, it's probably 500-600 yards out there. And it was just enough to make me stop. And I got the binos up, and sure enough, there was 2 birds, looked like toms, just tucked right up into that grass, right on the timber edge, on the edge of this field. And you could drop off into this creek. to sneak basically all the way around almost to him. And we sat there for probably 20 minutes. And I told Clay, I said, if I was Jeff Peel, what would I do? Because I had the Reaper in the back, and I'm like, do you just go right across the open field? You're 400 or 500 yards away from them. Are they going to just bust off into that timber, or would they come meet you halfway in the field, or what? I'm not an expert Reaper by any means, but I'm like, you could do that, or you could sneak that creek bottom, pop up basically 80 yards from them, and maybe that Reaper would work a little better being closer.
Sure.
And so we sat there, and finally we're just like, what, let's just do the smart thing, get close to them and see what we can do there. So we end up sneaking down this river bottom, going however far that was, get up there, and sure enough, we pop up in there, and through that oak brush, we can see them standing there about 80 yards out. So I sneak around one side of that oak brush with the Reaper out in front of me, kind of through the timber and then out and around. And I see the Tom, but he's in the field, and he's got his head tucked up under his wing. So he's just trying to keep dry. And so I took that Reaper, stuck it out there so he should be able to see it when his head would pop up. And I thought we were going to sit back and try doing some calling and see if they can come to us. But instead, Clay had already started moving towards them through the oak brush stuff. So then we're like, okay, I stopped and we made a game plan. We're like, let's try to sneak up to him through that oak brush, and maybe that Tom will distract him back there, and then we can maybe double up. And so we started doing that. And I got to a position where I was probably 40 yards ish from the Tom that had his head under his wing, clear line of sight, clear shot. And I was waiting for Clay to kind of make his way up a little further down and around. And all of a sudden he just starts counting them off. He's like, oh, Aaron, there's 2 birds. And the next time I hear him say something, he's like, there's 4 birds. Aaron, there's 8 birds there. And I'm like, holy crap, dude, there was a flock sitting there.
So you were kind of crawling through the brush behind the Reaper and looking underneath it. Is that what you were doing?
No, so I bailed on the Reaper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the initial, what I thought we were going to do is go around basically like 80 yards from the birds to where you could basically crawl out into that field and see them. So yeah. I crawled out there to where I could see that Tom, and then I just stuck the Reaper decoy in the ground right there. And I thought we were just going to back off of it a ways and try to call him around that brush to the Reaper and then shoot him off the Reaper. Well then, sure. But no, so we had actually backtracked, and then Clay started moving up into that brush towards the birds instead of trying to call them to us. And so I kind of changed the game plan a little bit, but it worked out good. I mean, we put a hell of a sneak on them. The rain noise definitely helped. The grass was soaking wet, so there wasn't a lot of grass noise.
And you must have got drenched doing this too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We were soaked. So I had a rain jacket, but I didn't have any rain pants. So my pants were soaked. There was a nice cooling effect on that cactus wound I had, but we were sliding through there, and Clay's just getting absolutely drenched because he didn't have any rain. He did have a rain jacket, but that was it. Cause I had waterproof gloves and the whole nine. And anyway, so he gets up in there, and all of a sudden that Tom, I'm like looking at Clay, and then I turned my head back to that Tom, and he's got his head up looking, and I'm like, oh crap, not nervous, but like I see something I don't like. And, or I'm looking for something I don't like. And I don't know if he saw that Reaper decoy and it just threw him off of his rocker, or if maybe one of the other birds or a couple of other birds were doing something that I couldn't see. Cause I think like all of a sudden he turns away from me, and he doesn't take off running, but he takes like one real slow, uneasy step that direction, like away from me. So I get the gun up, I put that bead right on the back of his head, and I look over at Clay to say, hey man, I'm going to shoot, so if you can, get your gun up or whatever, I don't know what you're seeing right now, but I'm going to have to make this happen. And when I look back over at the bird, he's kind of doing the little neck bob, like I'm getting ready to go. And then his buddy joins him like right beside him, and then his buddy peels off, and as soon as his buddy peeled away, I flipped the safety off and just hammered down, and that bird didn't even flinch, dude. He just at that point they all just all the other birds got up, and they all just took off running. I didn't even fire a second shot, but I don't know. I'm guessing he was
you
probably
mean because you had more than one tag, or because you wanted to make sure your original bird was dead?
I wanted to make the second, actually. I wanted to make sure that original bird was dead. I had multiple tags ready to rock, but when there's heads in the mix too, and you don't know what the birds are, it's like that's where it gets hairy.
Yeah.
So obviously I wouldn't want to get a hen. I wouldn't mind getting a Jake or something, but
Yeah.
anyway, so they all take off, just roadrunner it out of there, dude. And they get into the brush on the other side. I'm watching that bird's head the whole time, just waiting for him to wobble or do something. Nothing. He keeps on going and gets out of sight. And Clay goes, Aaron, he's like, is this going to be a repeat of last year?
Oh, so I like the way it sounded, you just knocked him dead, stone cold dead. I thought you
Oh, no.
killed,
I mean, he didn't even flinch, like nothing even touched him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I don't
Gotcha.
know. So instantly I just start replaying this in my mind once all the birds run away. And I'm like, how did I miss? It was a straight shot. His head was up. I watched that bead just bobbing right under his little dome. And I'm like, dude, he's a done bird. I thought, 40 some yards. So I stepped it off, and I think I'm estimating where he was when I pulled the trigger was probably between 45 and 50. But the thing the hardest part about it is I've got a good choke in there. And man, I shot ducks cruising 45 miles an hour across the sky with that gun this year and didn't have a problem. I mean, I had one of the best years of duck shooting I've ever had, but I was just hammering stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I was actually using the same shot. It's like I got it recommended to me by the buyer from Bob Ward's. And he said, dude, he switched to this shot. I'll have to link to it in the show notes. I got to go look at what it is. But anyway, it's basically like a hybrid steel stuff. And you can use it on waterfowl. But he said, dude, I use it on upland, turkeys, blah, blah, blah. I said, dude, 50 yards is nothing for this. And it's, 200 feet a second faster or something than the other shot that I'm used to using. So he said, you can cut your lead times down quite a bit. So I'm thinking in my head, like, this bird's done if he's within 50, and nope, he just didn't even phase him. He just busted out of there. So then we walked through the timber line there, seeing if we could find him laying in there or anything. But I mean, he didn't even, like I said, it looked like a miss the second I pulled the trigger, just nothing even moved.
Yeah.
So,
the chopper's coming for you, bud.
Oh yeah, bud. Oh, they're getting. So, like we're stationed up here at Malmstrom Air Force Base. It's a nuke space, and they've got the whole brigade out. So they must be moving Sorry, he just went right over my house. They've got all kinds of choppers rolling right now and a whole brigade. So they must have some a big classified part they're moving or whatever.
Okay.
They do it every once in a while. They put on a parade.
Sure.
But,
so at any rate, you thought you got the turkey.
Yeah, it keeps America safe. So anyway,
yeah.
I thought we had that bird, man, but nothing. He didn't even move. Like nothing about what happened told me he was even hit. I just felt like I had to go check because I couldn't believe that I missed him.
Right.
And so of course Clay had to give me a few good ribbons on that one.
Right.
And we're like, dude, we're soaked. I don't know what we're gonna do now. So let's go back and eat lunch. And so we went back into town. We took him out to lunch at this local diner place, which is pretty cool. Tons of history in Webo, Montana. Actually, it's kind of a cool place if you ever get a chance to. If you're cruising through North Dakota on the interstate into Montana, stop off at Webo. It's got a cool bit of history there. But anyway, we went out and got lunch. And then it starts just freaking like basically a whiteout blizzard. Like it is just snowing harder than, it looks like it should be midwinter. And we're just sitting in there sipping our coffee, eating our omelets, just like, dude, this is not a day for turkey hunting. Well, his mom ended up texting him saying, hey, sorry, a little bit more freedom coming by. His mom comes out or texts him and says, hey, I got birds out here in the yard if you want to come get them. We're like, oh yeah, dude. So we packed up, we hauled balls all the way down there to their place, like another 20 miles down the road. Get up there and there's not a bird to be found in the place. Like they're all gone. And it's just snowing and kind of nasty. So it limits, really the problem out there is it limited about 2/3 of the places we could go. We couldn't even go because of the slop the roads were going to be way too bad to get there. With the old 2 tracks and mud roads and stuff that they have out there. As soon as you get any kind of moisture, they just turn to like
muck,
slick. You're not
gumbo.
Gumbo, exactly right. Yeah. So we basically had his family's ranch to hunt and this other block management to hunt. So then we're, kind of beating our heads against the wall. We said hi to his parents, talked to them for a while, and then we end up buzzing like, let's go back up there again. Hopefully we can find some birds out in the open. And we drive all the way back out there to the block management piece. And like, of course, we're hot eyes on those fields, thinking, okay, more than likely we'll find birds out there, hopefully, because it was kind of at that time mixed snow rain, but just windier and hell. And so we end up going back to the same little horseshoe pasture where I killed my birds the year before again. Get down in that bottom, and we just start like walking and talking, like every 30 yards, stopping to call, because in there it was actually fairly quiet. And there was a couple times where the wind would let up, like kind of between weather systems hitting, and just hoping we could get something to fire off, and just nothing, man. I mean, I've never heard a more quiet turkey hunt like ever. It was crazy. So we end up Hey guys, just wanted to take a little bit of a break from the show to remind you guys, if you guys want to support Light the Fire Outdoors and the Prayin and Slayin Podcast, you can head over to lightthefireoutdoors.com and check out our shop. We've got a full line of Blackhound optics. They're our newest favorite scope that we've been able to shoot. I'm absolutely loving the 6-24 by 50. I've got that put on the 6.5 by 300 Weatherby. I took it out to the range the other day, and it took me like 5 shots to get a 200-yard zero. It's true tracking. Glass quality is fantastic. The price point of these things is amazing, and it's a great way to get yourself a new optic for the upcoming season, as well as support Light the Fire Outdoors and its mission. Like you heard earlier in the podcast, we do take all the proceeds that come in from all of our things, whether it's the decals on your beer fridge, whether it's the beanie you're wearing on your head while you're out shoveling snow, or whether it's a Blackhound optic. Your guys' support helps us support conservation, veterans, outdoor activities, and the Light the Fire Outdoors mission for ministry outreach. We actually put on the first ever tournament here at Malmstrom Air Force Base up here in Great Falls, Montana. And that was all based off your guys' support and proceeds from your guys' purchases through Light the Fire Outdoors. We were able to fully fund and support that, so there was no cost to the veterans out there shooting or the base itself. So great opportunity to support us, guys. Be sure to check out LTFO.com, lightthefireoutdoors.com. Check out the shop, and if there's anything you see there, feel free to support us in that way. With that, let's get back to the show. We ended up going, so anyway, we did make her like halfway around this horseshoe, and I finally got a hen to talk to me, a hen on the opposite side where we just came from. So I don't know if we walked by her or if she happened to come in after we had gone through or whatever, but a hen fired off and started talking to us, which was kind of cool. So we talked with her for a little bit, and we ended up making it all the way around. We ended up spooking her out. Like she ended up like 20 yards from us behind this little tree. I think she was like nested back there or something. And anyway, busted her out. We're like, well, let's get rolling. So we get to the truck, dry off a little bit again, and we start heading out of this place. Well, up ahead, there's so you can see kind of, you're up on this little bluff on this road, and you can actually see around the next bend, like where the road is on the other side of the bend, because you're going downhill. And there's a freaking Jake standing right in the middle of the road. And this is like 80 yards up the road. And I'm like, no way, Clay. I was like, dude, I said, what luck? And I said, should I stop here and try to get out and sneak down there? And he's like, I'd pull up a little bit, see what he does. Because either way, we'll probably have to let you roll out, and we can go, you can kind of cut him off. So we start heading up there. And so we get back behind the bend. I see the Jake drop off in the ditch, and he's going right into the grass we want him to go into, because I was just basically going to go around the next bend, loop out of the truck, and basically get in front of him. And about that, what's that?
Half moon him, bud?
I was going to half moon the crap out of him. just really give him the old one too. So we go to do that. Well, then all of a sudden, like as I'm sitting there watching this Jake go underneath this fence into the grass, and all of a sudden this big old Tom comes barreling off the side of the hill right in front of the truck. I almost run him over. And then he gets out and he gets on that ditch edge, and he's like standing there, and he looks back at me, and he kind of like does like a little stumble. And I look down at his leg. He's got a busted leg.
No way.
I was like, oh, no way. I said, Clay, I said, I don't know if this is luck or fate for this bird, but either way, I'm excited about it. I said, grab the wheel, dude. So he grabbed the wheel, and I slammed it on the brakes and flipped the car into park, opened the back door, and he's trying to get away. The Tom is. And he crawls down in the ditch, and he can't get himself through the fence. He like pinned his wing up against the barbed wire. And so I got the gun out. I stepped around him. I said, Clay, are you cool with this? And he goes, well, yeah, man, like you're out of the, right away or whatever on private property, you're good. And I said, okay. I said, I kind of feel bad, but I feel like I should put this bird down. I said, A, it's easy pickings, but B, he's got a busted leg. He's not going to make it anyway. So I line up on him, shoot him. Don't miss that time because he's like 5 feet away. So
and into the fence.
Yeah, he can't miss
with the broken leg into the fence.
So he expires. I think I didn't know it was a tom at the time. I figured I just killed a jake, and anyway, so he does this thing, flops around a bit. I go put the gun back in the truck, and Clay's out looking for that jake. He tried doing the quarter moon to see if that jake was sticking around or whatever, and couldn't find him. So then I go back down in the ditch, and the bird's done flopping, and I move his tail out of the way, and I go to grab his leg. Dude, he's got 1.5 spurs on him,
which is extremely large for any turkey, but especially a Merriam, right?
Yeah. I've never killed any bird, Eastern or otherwise, with spurs even close to that length. And his, and like you said, on a Merriam, the biggest ones I got, or some of the biggest ones I've seen, were the birds I got last year, who had, like 3/4 of an inch was good on one. Mm-hmm. And I actually looked it up in the record books. It looks like the page that I found that seemed the most credible had the top 5 on there, and number 5 was 1.62 inches.
Wow.
So I'm guessing somewhere in the top 10 to 20 probably for, Merriam bird length as far as spurs go. So that was really cool. And pick him up. He's got a 9-inch beard on him. But dude, I've never like killed a tom that was like body size that small. Like he looked like he was supposed to be bigger, but he was just, I don't know how long his leg had been broken, but I'm pretty sure between stress and constantly probably trying to move around because he can't roost at night and stuff like that. I mean, he was, emaciated basically. So I probably got his breasts when I, got the breasts and stuff off there, were probably, they're definitely less than half, but probably close to half of what a normal turkey breast thickness wise would be, like on a tom turkey. Huh. So anyway, good bird to take, a hell of a bird to take regardless. But you wish you could have called him in and had a better story for it, other than I jumped out of the truck as fast as I could to go get him, off of a fence line. But
yeah, I mean that I've never heard of such a turkey story. I mean, you never cease to amaze me, man. Never. I would have never in a million years said you shot a wounded tom. I mean, I've never heard of such a thing. Obviously, deer hunting, you bump into it from time to time. I think like ethically, if you have the tag, I mean, it's kind of a duty, not a responsibility, but more of a duty or whatever. It's definitely the right thing to do, is, to put that wounded animal down. But I have never, and I mean ever, heard of a guy putting down a wounded tom.
Well, that's the crazy part. And I'm not going to give Jeremy any credit for this, because that's my bird, especially with spurs like that. But so when I got to looking at him, his thigh was broken, like up in the actual drumstick part. That's where the bone was broken on the leg that was. And on that same side, under, like in the wing joint, it was like not nasty looking yet, but you could tell it had been bruised, like that little bald patch they get right at the bend in the joint there.
Yeah.
There were, like, the skin was bruised, but it had some green starting to go on in there. And Clay had told me, he said, man, he's like, actually thinking about this, dude. He said, we're only about 200 yards ish from, I guess, when Jeremy went out a couple weeks before, like there was a flock of them somewhere in a field. And I guess Jeremy spooked them or something on it. He was trying to stalk them. And he said, there was a really big tom in the group. And he said, they all got up off the ground, took off flying, and Jeremy cracked off a couple shots at the tom.
Okay.
In the air.
Okay.
And so he was like, I'm not saying anything, but he said it could be that maybe he winged him. And then if he can't land like they normally would need to land, or use his wings to slow himself down, if he hit the ground hard enough, I guess he could break his leg if he was a big tom. Yeah. So anyway, there's a backstory to it, I suppose, but I guess that's for that tom to know and us never to find out. So,
well, we'll have to get Jeremy on and hear the other side of, possibly the rest of the story to this.
yeah, for sure. But then the odds that, a bird that would be wounded would come across, within 200 yards of that, I'm like, well, that bird, if he was that badly injured, like how far could he have gone from where he got injured?
Right.
Walking around on one leg. So
he basically just hopped around in a circle for a week or two.
Yeah, he probably did.
Yeah. Till the Red Ranger came for him.
Doing my park ranger duty all over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a deeper level mystery to this one than all those dead seagulls I'd find dive bombed by peregrine falcons. You just see a big puff ball of feathers laying out in the middle of a field, and you know you got smoked.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so that was pretty cool. Then we're sitting there, you know, reminiscing on the whole thing and laughing about how fast and how stupid lucky that had to be to get that to happen on a day like that, and all this stuff. And we put him back, and we no sooner get in the truck, and Clay gets another text from his mom. Hey, there's a Tom, 3 Jakes, and a hen right in front of the barn if you want to come out and get them. We peeled out of there, dude, as fast as we could, and got out of there and hauled as fast as I could go down that highway and got down to his farm. We get there, and he's like, okay, he's like, well, pull your truck over here behind this hill, and we'll kind of come up over this way and see. And on the way in, we saw a hen by herself, like in some sagebrush, like past the barn a little bit. So we're like, well, the other birds will be right there with her, right? So we pull down, get out of the truck. We both sneak up around this little bend, and we're sitting there watching that hen, and she's walking circles around this sagebrush, like just a perfect circle, walking and walking and walking and walking, and she doesn't stop. And then the next thing you know, like the farm dogs, they see us standing up on this bluff, which draws their attention then to what we're looking at, and they see that turkey, and we're like 30 yards from the bird, and she's got like a 5-6 inch beard on her. And all of a sudden, these dogs just haul out across that farm, and one of them damn near bulldozes her, and she doesn't even move. Like, she just keeps walking circles around that sagebrush. And now we're like, okay, what's going on? So we just stand full upright. The bird doesn't even react to us. She just keeps walking circles. Now the dogs are trying to like grab at her tail feathers and stuff. And so we shoo the dogs off. Long story short with that, Clay ends up literally just grabbing this turkey and picking it up. A wild hen turkey. And she's
with a beard.
With a beard, yeah. and she was the only bird left, by the way. The other birds were gone. They weren't anywhere to be found. We walked the whole farm and couldn't find those suckers, so they left her by herself. And
I don't blame them.
Yeah. I don't blame them. Old Helga walking around back there. So
she's crazy, dog. I'm telling you.
Right. You young bucks are always chasing those kind of girls. You'll learn one day. So they went off to find bigger and better or more pretty things, I guess. Did
you ever figure out why in the world she was walking in a circle and you're able to pick her up?
So Clay might have thought she was blind or something. You know, he put a call in his mouth and started purring at her, and she'd purr back to him. And then
while he was holding her,
well, a little bit while he was holding her, but he'd put her on the ground and she'd just walk circles around him, purring at him.
What in the world?
It's super weird, dude. So obviously, and his brother comes up and goes, "The best thing you could do for that bird is wring its neck." You know? And then Clay, like I can't tell in Clay's eyes, like he grew up like, you know, a hard time Montana ranch family, dude. Like, yeah, you know, he's no stranger to putting something out of its misery or whatever. But I couldn't tell by the look in his eyes if he felt like he needed to take it home and keep it for a pet, or if he, you know, I think he was getting a little attached. And,
right.
So anyway, we go in and we show his parents, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen something like that." Yada yada. And they go, "What are you gonna do with it?" And he goes, "Well, we can't hunt it or whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, but Clay, come on, it's got something wrong with it, man. Like, what are you gonna do?" And so anyway, yeah, he took it out back and wrung its neck, I guess, and put it down and threw it in the silage pile or whatever. But it was just
what
like,
in the world?
I told him, I said, this is gonna be our new introduction to Light the Fire Outdoors. I said, I wish I would have got you like picking this bird up. We'll have like this super somber music, you know, like the puppy at the pound music going on, and then all of a sudden it'll change up to that "Are you down with the sickness" song? Like, oh wow. And then he just like wrings its neck, and anyway, it would have been a hell of a Turkey Takers intro. But I felt bad for it. So I actually Googled it, and it looks like more than likely it probably gotten into some old, I'm guessing it found some old feed around the farmyard there. That was moldy or something. I guess they can get, if they get into moldy food or there's something else, basically there's like a neurotoxin that'll happen where it'll make them just sit there, and basically they're out of their mind, and then it'll end up killing them. So you put 2 birds down in less than 2 hours.
Gotcha.
Anyway, so that was interesting. I got pictures of Clay holding that bird in its last minutes of life. But
man, I tell you, just when I think I've heard it all from you, and all the bizarre scenarios you get put in, and all the shots fired, and to hear two of the more unique and crazy turkey stories I've ever heard, just blows my mind.
Yeah, it shows you just you never know what you're gonna run into out there. Just
Yeah,
totally.
that's the thing about hunting. You go out, you have a plan in mind, you have a species you're after, and then you wind up encountering so many different things when you're putting your time in out in the field.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And yeah, it never ever is a dull moment when you're just kind of keep that open mind and don't give up on it. That
Especially
was the
when
one
you're
thing.
around.
Oh
Especially
yeah.
when you're around.
If I got shells in the gun, bud, there's always a chance.
A stack of
Tags.
tags in your pocket.
The more the merrier, bud.
That's
So
right.
but yeah, it was definitely interesting. But so then, at this point, I'm happy. I got a cool bird in the bag and tagged on my Region 7 tag, and I had my general tag left, and Clay's got his 2 tags. He's got his Region 7 and his general. And we kind of call it a day, and we're like, oh, I guess we can probably head back to the house. Now it was like 6:00 or something. And it gets dark out here about 9:30 now. And anyway, I said, well, if you don't mind, I said, if your dad said he saw the birds go down that across the road the other day, or when they left or went that direction, so let's just drive down there quick, and if we see them out, great. If we don't, at least we checked. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we drive down and we go past where we saw those jakes that first day, and a little bit further down, he said, man, he said, if you haven't seen them yet this far, I don't think we're going to see them. Just go ahead and pull in this field entrance here. We'll head back and head back to town and go grab some dinner. And so we pull into this field entrance, and I mean, me, when I talk, my head a lot, or like I get like locked into a conversation. I don't like do other things as well. My wife will tell you the same thing when I'm driving. If I'm talking, I'm not paying attention. And anyway, so I pull in here, and Clay says something like right as we're pulling in, and normally, like literally, I was just planning on pulling in, putting in reverse, backing out, and going like that fast.
Mm-hmm.
I pull in, he says something, so I pause for like half a second, and I got my hand on the reverse dial on my truck, and I paused to think about what he just said before I respond, and I'm looking out the window, and it was like that Scott Novotny story I told you, where I'm staring at something, but my brain isn't registering what I'm looking at. And even in my head, I was like, there's a log right there, like 35, 40 yards in front of the truck or so. And in mid sentence, it clicks. Like I'm looking at this thing, and I go, Clay, I said, is that a Tom strutting right there? And he goes, what? And I said, right there in front of the truck, man. I said, that half moon right there. I said, is that a Tom? Like fanned out? And he goes, no. He said, that's a cut log or a down log or whatever. And I said, that's what I thought too. I said, grab my binoculars. So he throws them over to me. Sure enough, dude, 35 yards in front of a truck, full strut Tom. Boom, right there. And like if I would have pulled up an extra 2 feet, he would have seen the truck pull up over that and would have been gone. And so I said, dude, I said, grab your gun, man. I said, he's right there. I said, he doesn't see the truck. So I said, move slow with the doors or whatever. And about that time, so I was coaching him, because the Tom would kind of almost like my first Miriam I got, where I was using him facing away with his tail fan blocking his vision to move on him. Yeah, we were doing that with this Tom while Clay was getting in and out of the truck, grabbing his gun and stuff. Well, then I get Tom moves out of the way a little bit, and there's a hen with him, and I see 3 jakes behind him in the brush, and I'm like, oh, dude, I said, this just turned into us trying to get a triple, bogey out of this one. So I said, Clay, hold on, I'm getting out too. I said, I said, there's 3 jakes with him, and I said, he's the big one. I said, there's 3 smaller jakes behind him. I said, I don't know how you want to do it, but I say we just sneak down basically to their brush patch on the other side, because there was a hill between us, and wait for him to come through, because the hen was like walking them through that brush. And so we get down there and do it. And I don't know which one of them saw, but I think the hen might have caught us and we didn't see her. But I'm watching this Jake's head. He's up looking around, and we hear that hen kind of call. And then all 4 of the males fired off like a gobble. Dude, it was we were 10 yards from these birds, and it sounded like they whispered in our ear with their gobble. It was that quiet. So, I mean, I didn't know they could gobble that quiet, I guess, but it makes sense with they knew the hen was right there. But anyway, after they gobbled like that, then they just started like walking off away from us through the brush, like the other direction. And I see one of them kind of doing that little bit of a nervous head bob. And Clay was like, dude, should we just shoot him? I'm like, no. So let's just wait. and they got up through there. We kind of watched them go up through another brush patch and over the hill from us, like away from us. And we just took off. I let Clay go first because I'm like, well, you haven't filled a tag yet. So he gets up to the next brush patch, waves me up. I run up to it, and we make the idea to go, we're going to split this hill. I'm going one way, he's going the other. We're going to barely crest over there and hope that they're just on the other side, because they didn't, none of them ran. They were just walking,
Mm-hmm.
And so we're crawling, and I keep watching Clay, trying to keep him even with me. So, because, in my mind, it's his shot first. And I'm sitting there watching him because he's moving a little bit slower around his side of the hill than I was. And about I waited 5, 6, 7 seconds, and I look forward, and there's a friggin' Jake 20 yards from me. I can see his head through the grass, just looking like basically right at me. And I'm like, gosh, damn it. Like, they got to me first. And so I flick the safety off of my gun. I pull it around in front of me, and I just set it like on the ground, pointing at that Jake. And I like glance over back at Clay, not with my eyes. So I'm not moving my head. And he still doesn't see these things. He's still walking forward. And then when my eyes come back to that Jake, both the Jake's heads or two of the Jake's heads are standing there side by side. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is double.
I know what you're thinking.
Oh, dude, I knew
what you're thinking.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, man. And at that point, I'm like, do I just shoot? And then I'm starting to play like the shoot scenarios. Like, what happens if I shoot first? Are the birds going to Clay? Are they going to run straight ahead from us? All this stuff. So I look back over at Clay. He still doesn't see the birds. And now I'm like, okay, it's game time. Like, I made up my mind. Like, I'm going to shoot one of these Jakes, and hopefully they'll play that game, where one dies and they come back and Clay can shoot. I guess in my head, that's what I thought was going to happen. Well, I pull my gun up. I get the sight settled right on the Jake on the right's head, the one that would have been furthest away from Clay's position. And I'm pressure on that trigger, and the friggin' hen's face pops up right in front of that Jake. And I was like, oh God. So I dropped my gun, and then I look over it, and they saw me move at that point. So then I saw that Jake whip around and head the other direction towards Clay, which was good. So I look over at Clay, and he's already got his gun up. Just as I look at him, he fires a shot, and the next thing he empties his gun. And then I stand up, and there's so much going on. I don't know what bird he just killed. I see one bird, the hen's running like a bat out of hell one direction. One of the Jakes is falling another direction. And then I see this on Clay's last shot. This other one jumps like 15 feet up in the air, turns its breast towards me. I see a little beard hanging out, and I kind of pulled the gun up like I was going to shoot it. And then like these visions of the only other times I've shot at turkeys in the air, when I was reaping with Jeff that one time where the turkeys about ran me over, and I missed them both. So I just instinctively, pulled the gun down, like, no, it's not even worth it. I don't want to swing at it. And he lands on the ground, and they take off. And I walk over there, and I thought Clay got 2, because he held up 2 fingers for some reason as he had his call in his mouth. He's looking at me all excited, and he holds up 2 fingers. I'm like, oh, sweet, he got both his tags filled. And I walk over there, and that Tom was just stone dead. Like, he just smoked him. And he didn't even know he hit him, I guess, which was why he emptied his gun on one of the other ones that was running away. I guess that bird just got hit and just hit the dirt, didn't even move. And he thought it took off running. And he said, so I saw the other, I saw that male pop out behind, cracked a few shots at him, but he didn't hit any of the birds or whatever. They were all cruising. But he ended up with a beautiful, beautiful Tom. Just gorgeous. But the spurs on his one was like a 1/4 inch, and the other one was like just under a 1/4.
Weird.
But just big, beautiful bird, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. You shot 2 toms, you wrangled a hen's neck on just a terrible day to be turkey hunting.
Dude, like the worst conditions I've ever turkey hunted in my life.
So I guess it's like, to me, it sounds like, if you're a hunter and you got the time off, especially if you drove, you might as well get out there and see what the hell happens.
You have to. That's it, man. I mean, that was what went through my head. That was kind of what kept me a little motivated, because after the first day, well, that and last year's hunt, and you say it a lot, is there's always a chance as long as you're in the field, and it's like last year showed me that's the only time I've ever been to literally the last second of a hunt, and it just comes together. Bam, it just happened. And then that memory of that, and you saying that stuff all the time, like actually I was like actively talking positive to myself in my head to keep me like you just said, Aaron, you drove 5 hours, keep at it. Who cares if it's the worst hunt of your life? At least you were out here, at least you were trying. And then sure enough, like we each, by dumb, stupid luck, both times we got a bird. You didn't have to be good. You just had to be lucky on that hunt.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. That's
Yeah.
again, you blew my mind. Definitely. You put a new put an exclamation point definitely on the true run and gun tactics.
For sure.
Just keep moving until you find one pinned to a fence with a broken leg. I think that's the moral of the story that I heard.
That's it, dude. They're out there for the taking, man. Even if they're rung up on a fence, you just got to find.
And then since that bird was wounded or whatever, I just want to make sure, were the nuggets still good?
Yeah. So I didn't keep, because that one leg was broken. I didn't keep normally I'll keep the drumstick and thigh like all one piece,
Yeah.
off the turkey, take the breast, and the wings if I can, especially on a big tom, if they've been kind of just cruising around getting fat in the springtime, sometimes you can get enough meat off them on the wings. But anyway, on the breasts, I was actually kind of nervous when I started tearing into him. I thought it was going to be all nasty and stuff, but his breast, the meat looked good. The meat smelled good. They were just smaller. Like, you could tell he'd been basically using his muscle for nutrition at that point. And I didn't even mess with the one thigh that was broken. But the other thigh, it was good. So yeah, I haven't tried it yet though. I got it in the freezer.
Oh, okay.
So I'm excited to try it. Now Clay was calling me crazy. He's like, dude, I wouldn't even mess with it, man. He's like, that bird's probably nasty and this and that. And I'm like, I hear you, but I would feel like I'm not doing my justice to the animal if I didn't at least take a bite. I'll find out after I take a bite of it. And at that point, I did my due diligence. If I don't even try, then it's like just total waste,
And if it's a little rotten, I know you got the stomach for it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Did you get enough makers in there to kind of preamble it, dude? You're good.
I tried a new recipe for the nuggets this year and it turned out pretty good.
Did you?
It was, the guy, one of my buddies who I took out turkey hunting for the first time, he'd been going crazy watching turkey videos. He was so fired up. Two of my buddies got together, like doing some spring fishing, and the one of them that I've been my best friend, my hunting partner, I've been taking him for the last 5 or 6 years, was telling the other dude all our turkey stories. It's like, that sounds amazing. So we got all fired up and started watching endless hours of YouTube turkey hunting videos, and he's fired up. But in some of those searches or whatever, he found this recipe for turkey nuggets, and he's like, yeah, man, if we shoot one, we gotta try this recipe. I'm like, okay. Well, we didn't end up shooting one right away, but at any rate, I came home and tried my bird, and it was awesome. It's like pickled juice and ranch. You use that as like a 2-hour marinade, and then in the nuggets. Yeah. The one thing I did wrong is I used kind of like it's mainly fish batter, because I was in a hurry or what, and I didn't have the supplies at home or whatever, and I didn't feel like going to the store. So I used this fish batter that had a little bit more sodium in it. And so with the pickle juice and that higher sodium batter, it was kind of salty. But okay. I can tell like if you soaked it in the pickle juice and the ranch and then just use regular flour, or, something without extra sodium in it, it would have been awesome.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. I'll definitely have to try that with pickle juice and ranch. I mean, both of those are delicious, so I don't see why it would be any kind of weird. But
yeah, it made like this mustard consistency type looking whatever, what's the word,
congealment, I don't know.
Yeah, congealment. And then I just left them in there for a couple hours, and it turned out really good. Like I said, the only thing I do different is just use something as breading that didn't have any sodium in it whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's good. That's a good note too, because the only turkey nuggets I've ever ruined was because they were too salty.
Yeah, for sure.
I was all pumped. My mom and dad came up. I think it was the first time my dad been up here in Montana, and I got those birds last year. So I had a plethora of turkey breasts to make nuggets out of. And so I made some of those because I hadn't made them for them yet. And so I kind of just go like fly by the seat of my pants with it. I take like a flour base, like this almond flour that I have, and put a bunch of that in a container. And then I just start adding stuff to it and kind of tasting it along the way to see kind of where it's at, where I want it. And for whatever reason, man, I think so. I always put garlic in there, some Cajun seasoning, paprika, salt and pepper, and like Italian seasoning or like an oregano blend or something like that of like dried spices or whatever. Anyway, it always comes out very, very good. It's hard to mess it up, but you just kind of taste along the way, see what you need to add. Well, I'm assuming every spot that I stuck my finger to taste this stuff, I was just getting like the only spot in the container that didn't have salt in it. So I kept adding a little bit of salt to this thing. I tried it like 4 or 5 times, and every time I added salt, I'm like, man, it's just not salty enough, just not salty enough. And then I shake these suckers out in there and put them out in there, start frying them. And my dad's sitting there, and I had the plate in front of him that I was like taking the ones that were done out and putting them on. And he's reaching over the bar and grabbing a couple here and there. And I look back at him one time, and he's got this like look on his face, like not like this is gross, but like, oh wow, there's something in there that he didn't expect or something, right?
Yeah,
and I could just tell. So I watched him a little more, and he grabbed one more and bit it, and then he put the other half down. And I was like, something wrong? He goes, what's in this batter or whatever? And I told him. He goes, holy shit, man. He said, there's a lot of salt. He said, that one was salty. I'm like, what? So I go over and I throw one in my mouth, dude, and it about sucks the moisture out of my face. I was like, holy crap. I said, are they all that bad? He said, well, the first couple, I just thought there was something in it that I wasn't ready for. So I kept trying them. He said, no, they're all that way.
Oh, bummer.
So
man.
I cooked up like 2 whole breasts worth of turkey and just this salty mess of a batter. And it was, I ended up eating them over the next like 3 or 4 days, just choking them down because they are good and the meat's delicious. I didn't want to waste it, but man, it was tough.
I knew you sucked it up and ate them anyway.
Oh, dude, I had to. I've got enough sodium for the next year.
Well, good, man. I'm glad you had a good hunt. I'm gonna tip my hat to you again. It's very, very, very unique, and only you could pull it off. And I'm not disappointed.
Thanks, boss. I appreciate it, man. Well, very cool. Well, I'll let you get back to the. Appreciate taking time for my story, but yeah, I'll let you get back to cleaning the house since you don't have a handmaid over here helping you out.
Sounds good, bud. Nice catching up with you.
All right, brother. We'll see you.
See you.
Thanks again for listening to the episode, guys. This hunting story reminds me a lot of Paul's letter in 2 Timothy verses 5-7. But you should keep a clear mind in every situation. Don't be afraid of suffering for our Lord. Work at telling others the good news and fully carry out the ministry that God has given you. As for me, my life's already been poured out as an offering to God. The time of my death is near. I have fought the good fight, and I have finished the race, and I have remained faithful. And now the prize awaits me. Just like the trials that my buddy and I experienced in this hunt, walking a life of faith and service to others definitely takes a lot of perseverance, a lot of focus, and a lot of driving through things that aren't always, super pleasant. Definitely requires you to keep at it when the weather sucks, the roads are too slick to travel, the birds just aren't playing our games, you name it, go through it and just kind of keep your head up and keep trucking, because as long as you're out there, like John always says, you have an opportunity to find a bird tucked up against the fence with a crippled leg, man. So, that was our prize at the end of that game for sure. But in the end, those who have walked in faith are definitely rewarded beyond what we can imagine, because what Jesus has done for all of us. And in the case of this hunt, like I said, we're rewarded with a trophy, food, and a story that is worth sharing with all of our friends and family. So thanks again for listening, guys. And as always, keep praying and slaying.